We ready here?
I don't know.
Okay, council, we're ready? I'd like to call this council meeting to order at 6:32 p.m. And I will call on Councillor Dedivitis to read the land acknowledgement.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The city of Thorold is situated on treaty land. The land is steeped in the rich history of the First Nations, such as the Hanti-Wandarunk, Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabe, including the Mississauga of the Credit First Nations. There are many First Nations, Métis, Inuit people from across Turtle Island that live and work in Niagara today. The city of Thorold stands with all Indigenous people, past and present, in promoting the wise stewardship of the lands in which we live.
Thank you, Councillor Dedivitis. Are there any declarations of interest? Seeing none. Adoption of the agenda. Can I get a mover and a seconder to adopt the agenda? I've got Councillor DeRose and Councillor D'Angelo. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Adoption of the minutes. Can I get a mover and a seconder to adopt the minutes? I've got Councillor Sentence and Councillor DeRose from the City Council and Public Forum minutes from October 22nd, 2024. Are there any errors or omissions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Okay. Before I get started on my mayor's report, I'd like to introduce two new employees to the City of Thorold. Deputy City Clerk Laura Burbanko and Associate Director of Community Services Mark Richardson. Welcome, both of you, to the city, and we're happy to see you join Team Thorold. So thank you so much. On Mayor's report, on October 23rd, during Municipal Government Week, I made a presentation and answered questions to grade 10 students at Thorold Secondary School. The major topic was the importance of local government plays in our communities. I was joined by DSBN trustee Nancy Beamer, civics teachers Cam Stone and Simon Borbalay, and Principal Janice Sargent. On October 24th, I attended and spoke at the kickoff for the 8th annual Toolbox Niagara campaign. This event was held in the parking lot of our new Fire Station 1. Thank you, James Simons, and your team of volunteers and sponsors for continuing to grow this great initiative. This goal this year is to deliver 900 care packages for men and 500 care packages for women to the homeless with the help of local outreach organizations. On October 24th, CAO Manoj Dalwaria and I met with Jill Crotu, physician recruitment and retention specialist, along with Marco Marino and Katie Desiree from Economic Development at the Niagara Region, and we met at Niagara Regional Headquarters to discuss physician recruitment. The region will be hosting a physician recruitment roundtable on November 26th, which will include area mayors, Niagara area mayors, and CAOs. On October 25th, I hosted and met a meet and greet with Tricia Cosgrove, Human Resources Manager for the Niagara Sexual Assault Center. The meeting was held here at City Hall. We discussed the services they provide and ways we can help them promote their programs and expanding public education. On October 26th, 500 trees and shrubs were planted at the Eco Park in Port Robinson. I was joined by Councillor Sentence, O'Hare, and D'Angelo. City staff, including Manoj Dalwaria, Jeff Holman, Dave Baldoni, Jacob Tedesco, Natalie Stickles, as well as TD Bank staff, because the day was known as TD Tree Day, NPCA staff, and community volunteers. Also, thank you to Walker Industries for supplying the topsoil and mulch. Once again, thank you to everyone involved for making this a very successful event. On October 29th, I attended the 2024 GNCC Niagara Economic Summit held at White Oaks in Niagara-on-the-Lake. The theme was Thriving in a Transforming World. The three main themes were global connectivity, which big discussion on multimodal transportation, innovation and sustainability while accelerating the building of houses, and manufacturing future. The keynote speaker was N. Prasad Punagunta, Vice President of Project Management at Asaya Kasei Battery Separator Canada Corporation. On October 2nd, I attended the grand opening and ribbon cutting of Bridget and Amy Home and Lifestyle Store located at 51 Front Street South. I was joined by Councillors Sentence, O'Hare, Regional Councillor Whalen, and BIA Chair Serge Carpino. On behalf of City Council, thank you to Amy Eitzen for your commitment to our downtown, and we wish you all the best moving forward. On November 6th, I brought greetings on behalf of City Council to the 8 grade 9 students who took part in the City of Thorold's Take Your Kids to Work Day. The students visited facilities across the city, including City Hall, Fire Station 1, the Community Arena, and Municipal Operations Center. They engaged with city staff and learned about the different job functions and career opportunities available across our municipality. On November 9th, I attended the grand opening and ribbon cutting of Master Nam's Taekwondo Academy, located at 2601 Highway 20, Unit 3 in the City of Thorold. I was joined by Councillor O'Hare. Thank you, Master Nam, for choosing the City of Thorold and much future success. And they wouldn't let me out of there until I broke the board. On November 9th, I attended the Hamilton and District Cricket League's 2024 season celebrations and awards night, held at John Michael's Banquet and Event Center on Uppers Lane. It was a special evening honoring and celebrating the achievements of their players, teams, coaches, and volunteers. Thank you to Tan Quirshi, Niagara Cricket Center, located in the City of Thorold, for the invitation to attend, and the Niagara Cricket Center belongs under the umbrella of the Hamilton and District Cricket League. On November 11th, I was joined by Councillors Decker, O'Hare, DeAngela, Sentence, Hanley, and Longo at the annual Remembrance Day Parade and Ceremony hosted by the Royal Canadian Legion Branch 17 Thorold. As well as the Thorold Legion, I would also like to thank Canadian Corps Unit 44, Thorold Fire and Emergency Services, 128 Thorold Flying Dragons, Royal Canadian Air Cadet Squadron, Thorold Pipe Band, Niagara Regional Police, Niagara EMS, Correctional Services, Lincoln and Welland Regiment, all our first responders, veterans, peacekeepers, Merchant Navy, and everyone who attended this important ceremony at Memorial Park, and the turnout was excellent. There is something reaffirming, uniting, and powerful about the energy when we as a community silently come together to honor and remember the sacrifices made. So many Canadians gave their tomorrows for our today. We honor them, we remember them, lest we forget. Upcoming events. The 29th Annual Thorold Arts and Crafts Show will be held on Saturday, November 16th and Sunday, November 17th at Thorold Secondary School from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. both days. That's this coming weekend. And the Thorold 50 Plus Center will be hosting their annual Christmas Bazaar on Saturday, November 16th. A great opportunity to attend this event as well as the Thorold Arts and Crafts Show. The 32nd Annual Santa Claus Parade will be held on Saturday, November 30th, beginning at 4 p.m. As always, the parade begins at the intersection of Collier Road and Sullivan Avenue, continues down Sullivan Avenue to Front Street, left on Front Street, ending just past Regent Street in front of the Thorold Community Arena. There will be over 55 entries, and the TCAG will be collecting non-perishable food items for community care along the parade route. The City of Thorold will have special giveaways along the parade route. Something new this year, meet Santa for selfies and have your face painted for free before the parade at the Battle of Beaver Dams Park on Sullivan Avenue from 1:30 to 3:30 p.m. Also enjoy a complimentary hot chocolate courtesy of the new McDonald's. On Saturday, November 30th at 11 a.m., the public is invited as we celebrate the 200-year anniversary of the turning of the sod of the first Welland Canal in Allenburg. On November 30th, 1824, the first shovel went into the ground for a project which would be one of the greatest engineering achievements of its time, as well as open the heart of the North American continent to trade and commerce. The ceremony and the unveiling of the commemorative plaque will take place on the west bank of the canal at the Allenburg Lift Bridge at 11 a.m. and then back to Fire Station 2, I believe, for the reception. Is that correct, Chief Dixon? Okay. The inaugural Knights of Columbus for Kids campaign in Thorold is helping children in need of a warm winter coat. They are supplying new coats in different styles and sizes for boys and girls. Donations will be collected during Beef on the Bun Night at Holy Rosary Hall on Thursday from 4 to 7. Donations will also be collected during Santa Claus Parade on November 30th in the Holy Rosary Hall parking lot. During their fundraiser barbecue, and Councillor DeRose will be manning the barbecue, I think. Is that correct, Councillor DeRose?
Correct, sir.
This campaign is supported by monetary donations and fundraising, which are used to buy new coats. And that's the end of my mayor's remarks. Presentations. Hospice Niagara. I'll call on Carol Nagy, Executive Director, and Alicia Mary, Director of Marketing, Communications, and Fund Development for Hospice Niagara for their presentation. And remind them they have 10 minutes. Welcome. And I take it that you're Alicia.
Yes, just Alicia Mary here tonight. Happy to be here. Thank you for having me. I am a resident of Thorold, and this is my first time actually at a council meeting, so thank you very much.
Welcome.
Do we have the presentation? Great, thank you. I also want to thank council and the mayor for your commitment to our Close to Home campaign, which is funding the 2 new hospices that are coming to Niagara, Welland Hospice and Fort Erie Hospice. And because of those donations, as well as other donations from community members and businesses, we are so close to making hospice a home in Niagara for more people that need us when the time is needed most. So today I just want to update you on our Welland Hospice. So it is set to open late August 2025, coming very close. And we are right now at the point of making hospice a home. So finding those extra comforts that everyone would love to have in their own home at the hospice as well. Next slide, please. Just want to share a story of Captain Craig Bowman. Allison and Craig and their family reside in Thorold, and Craig spent his final days with us at our hospice in St. Catharines. Allison wanted to share Craig's story and has allowed us to share his story as we go around and talk about our new hospices coming, because she received the best care and the most comforting care at a time when they needed it most for their family. She was able to put aside her caregiving duties that she had done for that last year of Craig's life and focus on just their time together. In his final day with us at hospice, his firefighter family came and they stayed overnight. They slept on sofa beds, in cots, in Craig's room. The next morning, they did what they do just at the fire hall, and they used our family kitchen to make a wonderful meal for everyone who was there with Craig's family, our staff, and just spent those final days, final hours, with Allison and her kids. Next slide, please. So because Craig's story is so important to us, and he also is a firefighter in Welland, we felt it was fitting to use his story to share how Welland Hospice, Walker House, is going to be there for everyone, just like it was for Craig. And Walker House Welland, like I said, is coming soon, opening, slated to open at the end of August 2025. Next slide, please. It will be located on Promenade Richelieu in Welland. Next slide, please. And here are some visuals of what the hospice will look like. A resident suite, the family change room and shower. Next slide, please. The spa tub room and the family dining living room. And that family room is what I was mentioning, where the firefighters made that final breakfast for Craig and his family on his last day. Next slide, please. So home is where you find comfort, warmth, safety. Of course, it's where you make memories and traditions. And that is what hospice is like as well. Aside from the medical and emotional support that we provide, all of those home-like comforts are there. And that is why we're bringing more hospices to Niagara, so everyone can have that feeling and closer to home. Next slide, please. Our programs and services are not just the resident suites. They are also for people who are living at home when they're first diagnosed with a life-limiting progressive illness. They're for people who are suffering grief, through whether it's children, youth, or adults. And you do not have to have a connection to hospice at all. It can be a sudden death where you can receive grief support. And for people who are caregivers. And all of our programs, including the hospice residents, are free of cost. Next slide, please. So once all 3 hospices that Hospice Niagara will have under our umbrella are open, St. Catharines, Welland, and Fort Erie, it'll only be a 20 to 30-minute drive from anywhere in Niagara. And like I said earlier, we're bringing hospice closer to home for everyone in Niagara. Next slide, please. So Walker House Welland, if you want to learn more about it, you can visit wellandhospice.ca, and you'll see Craig's full story on that website as well. That is it for me. If you have any questions, happy to answer.
Well, thank you, Alicia, and I'm going to open the floor for questions from council. Go ahead, Councillor Didavides.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Alicia, for coming in today. You do a great job in Niagara. We had my Uncle Vito was in St. Catharines, and they were so accommodating. We have a large family. They made us feel right at home. I just can't say enough good about this. And I have one question to ask you. When is it the right time to try to get hospice care? Should we go early? Like, how early can you get in there? And what are the benefits of getting there early?
Through you, Mayor. Absolutely great question. We recommend that at the time of diagnosis with a life-limiting progressive illness that you reach out to Hospice Niagara because, like I said, we have program support for in the home. We can help people with medical and emotional support right in their own home. We offer counseling right in their own home for them as well as their family members, and that can be for as long as it's needed. And then after, of course, we can bring people to our hospice residence if they choose. And of course, with the extra beds that will be coming to Niagara through Welland and Fort Erie, we will have more availability to do that and to serve more people.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Councillor Sant, you had your hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, thank you very much for the presentation. Thank you for sharing Craig's story. I think most of us know part of the story, but I didn't know those parts of it, so thank you. Love what you guys do. Everybody's going to need this or has used it or it's touched somebody in some way. My only question would be, I like that we have one on each side of us. Mm-hmm. Is the idea to have one in every city? Like now that you have one in those cities, does it, and maybe not us, but Niagara Falls, or is the next steps another city after this? And again, wherever the bed is, I'm not being selfish, I would just like one in Thorold.
Through you, Mayor. Absolutely, we would love a hospice in every community in Niagara. It's very much needed here. Of course, we receive funding from the Ministry of Health. They determine where the hospices will be located because part of our base funding is from them to run the hospices, as well as they do provide initial funding for those builds. So yes, I mean, eventually it would be great if we had more hospices in Niagara, and we are currently advocating to have more hospices in Niagara as we are finishing up our Welland and Fort Erie builds.
Thank you very much. Great job.
Anyone else from council? Okay, seeing none, Alicia, thank you so much. I can just say a personal story. My mom was a big supporter of hospice, and she never made it to hospice. She died in palliative care at the hospital, but her goal was to reach hospice, but unfortunately, she never made it that far. So thank you for the work you do, and thank you for your whole organization. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, there's no delegations and items for consent. We have items 11-1 to 11-11. Can I get a mover and seconder for all the items, and then we can speak on any of the ones we want? Can I get a mover and a seconder? I got Councillor DeAngela and Councillor O'Hare. We've got 11-1 through 11-11. Is there anyone want to pull any items? Go ahead, Councillor O'Hare.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. 11.3, please.
Yeah. Anyone else? Go ahead, Councillor Didavides.
1110, please.
Yeah. And Councillor Hanley.
11-7 and 11-11, please.
Okay. Go ahead, Councillor.
I just want to make a comment on 11-9.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay. We'll start with the questions from 11-3. Go ahead, Councillor O'Hare.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's just a comment, not a question, if I may proceed.
Yes,
Thank you.
yeah.
So this is the third time this comes to council. As you can see from the dates, 2022 was the first time it crossed desks here at the city. This is something that keeps coming up at the age-friendly meetings, and I'm hoping that this third time here will be the home run. It's an important issue. It's an issue that gets asked about all the time as we age. One thing that starts to weaken is our eyesight. So we'd like to have staff address this. And this is not a goal to change all street signs. This is a goal to take a look at increasing the font size for new street names, for streets that have to have their signs replaced. So I'd really hope that this finally gets put into action and that we can have a report back on how we can proceed. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Councillor Hanley.
Thank you. Just a follow-up to Councilor O'Hare. Could that be something that we could bring in regards to a budget item?
Well,
'Cause
that
there'll be a cost
resolution, if it's
implication?
passed, goes back to staff, and then
Okay.
staff will report on it.
All right,
Okay.
thank you.
Go ahead, Councillor DeRose.
Yeah, just a question to staff. Is there a standard font size that is used across Ontario or locally? And can we change it?
I think that, Sean, do you want to answer that? I know you're the sign guy. At least you are tonight, anyway.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, our signs are, the font size and the color is based on the AODA requirements, and right now we're at the minimum AODA requirements. We can certainly go bigger as we wish. You'll see around the city in certain areas, the font size is actually bigger at certain intersections. So we could certainly do that. There is a cost to it, though.
So this resolution, if passed, then you can look at it and report back, correct?
For sure.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay? Go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know this is specifically looking at signs for new streets, but I think if you're going to come back with a report, maybe that should also entail any other signs that we put in our community, such as park signs, directional signs, as a comprehensive part of the report coming back. If there's any modifications we can make to make those more visible or legible, I think if you're going to look at one, you might as well look at them all. In terms of, it's not saying you're going to spend the money and go do it, but let's look at what we're deficient in that could be addressed. I know the key one is the street signs, but if you're going to do it, you might as well do it comprehensively as opposed to just ad hocly. So I'd like to add that amendment, if possible, to add additional signage within our community.
You add that?
That the municipality is responsible for.
Okay, we'll go on, and he's going to do that, and we'll look at it, okay? Uppers Lane Extension, go ahead, Councillor Hanley.
In regards to the Upper Lane roadway extension, could I want to put a motion on the floor tonight, seeing my concern is this here. I know we received a letter this evening in regards to continuing on with the solicitor. I don't believe it's necessary, and I want to put a motion forward that we seize the pursuit of a memorandum of understanding between the parties, because we know that a couple of the parties aren't interested in the MOE, and that the other two parties basically have the same solicitor, and that should be a cost borne upon them if they want to come to some type of resolution in regards to the development Uppers Lane, and it shouldn't be burdened upon the taxpayer.
How will we handle that?
I don't believe we need his services anymore.
It's just to do with,
So, through you, Mr. Mayor, so Councillor Hanley is referring to correspondence that was provided from external legal counsel Tom Richardson, who advised that there are other stakeholders, developers, who would also be interested in the Uppers Lane roadway being constructed. So Councillor Hanley is looking to amend the motion to direct staff to no longer proceed with.
but is that a separate, I'm talking, that is not what this report says.
That is, no, that is
So
not what this
that
report
would
says.
be done separately. Am I correct?
It's,
We were given an addendum to this in regards to the letter received by Mr.
I'm
Richardson.
gonna see how the clerk wants to handle.
Okay,
it would be, I guess it would be a vote on what's currently proposed, and if that fails, then Councillor Hanley can bring forth an alternate motion. But that's what's on the floor currently.
On the floor is that we would get further information as it comes.
No, just to receive the memo currently,
The latest memo that
Yeah.
we received?
which essentially, no, the memo that was in the agenda package.
Right.
Which is just that staff are currently continuing to work with stakeholders and developers and working on the memorandum of understanding.
Okay. So that's what's in, that's what we're voting on.
Yes.
Okay.
Do you want to discuss,
if I could ask, Mr. Mayor?
Wait 1 sec.
do you want to discuss the latest email that Tom Richardson has forwarded to our council?
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor, that was what I was referring to, the most recent email wherein Council Tom Richardson notes that he recommends having staff report back to council on the future of the Uppers Lane roadway construction. Other stakeholders involved.
Can I ask,
Go ahead, Councillor Hanley.
through you, Mr. Mayor, to the appropriate staff member, what stakeholders remain at the table? Because I know the school board's no longer on it, and they were going to be part of the MOE. Rolling Meadows is no longer a part of it. And to this date, Walker Brothers has not been a part of it. So the only two are a part of it is Park Ridge and Redanco. And therefore, if they want to dispute or discuss the extension of Uppers Road, that cost should be borne upon themselves and not the taxpayer. We don't need Tom Richardson to address a memorandum of understanding. 60% of the parties aren't involved. The only parties are involved that initiated this in the first place with the reversal of a decision by council on October 8th. Therefore, I believe council this time should absolve ourselves of representation by a law firm in regards to pursuing a memorandum of understanding. And another point is this: either developer is yet to submit a plan of subdivision, and in lieu of that, you would be looking at a minimum of 18 months down the road before any type of development could occur. And presently, Rolling Meadows has no interest in developing that end of the road. So therefore, we would be basically building a road to nowhere. So that's my point. We don't need to be doing this any further. It's a dead deal. The school's moved. The school board want no part of it, and Walker Brothers isn't interested in negotiating because they have yet to even bring a report forward themselves as to the expansion of the Walker Brothers quarries that's in their future plans, and part of Upper Lanes would be an entranceway for aggregate. So we don't need to be discussing this any further.
On Uppers Lane.
On Thorold Stone Road side, if we were to follow through all the ways to Thorold
Yeah,
Stone
but
Road.
Uppers Lane on the Niagara Falls side is a totally different subject. This
But
is
we were-
Uppers Lane to Town Line Road, that's it.
Yeah, yeah.
In the city of Thorold. The quarry's in Niagara Falls, it's
No,
not in the
excuse
city.
me, Mr. Mayor, the quarry, Walker Brothers, I hate to correct you, Mr. Mayor, Walker Brothers in fact has interest of land to this northern portion of the lands owned by Rudenko. They own those lands,
I know that.
and they own a significant part of lands, and that land is designated to be a quarry in the city of Thorold.
No, it isn't.
Well, that's their long-term plans.
No, it isn't. So that is owned by Walker, and a lot of that land that Walker owns, they're already letting the cricket club and various other users use.
If I
Okay.
could then, Mr. Mayor, follow up to that through the
They
staff.
were supposed to respond. They were one of the people that are to respond to the lawyer.
And have not yet, from my understanding, as of today, responded. So we're going nowhere. I don't believe the city should be borne any more expenditures. Okay, I want to put a motion on the floor in regards to that, and I need direction as how to do it.
That's what I'm
So
gonna ask
through
the
you,
question.
Mr. Mayor, what's on the floor right now is this. So that can be voted on. If it is, council decides to not pass this motion, then Councillor Hanley can look to bringing his motion, which I don't believe is consistent with what's on the floor right now. That's my advice.
Okay, does anyone want to speak to that? Go ahead, Councillor Diaz.
Well, Mr. Mayor, we're just receiving this for information. No one has an issue with receiving it for information, but we want to give staff some, well, I shouldn't say we, because I can't speak for everyone, but Councillor Hanley wants to put some direction to staff to further stop added expenditures at this point in time. So I guess his question is, when does he do that? Does he do this as a secondary part of this, or does he have to come with a notice to motion? I think that's what he's just trying to get clarity on it, so that we can have a chance to discuss that component of it. I don't think anyone has any issue when you're receiving stuff for information, because it's just come for us for information. So I think
I agree
it's the
with that.
direction of staff moving forward is at the cause of the issue here, I think.
He'd
Thank you.
have to bring that up as a separate motion, so it'd be notice of motion, wouldn't it? Mike?
I don't believe it would have to be a notice of motion.
Okay. Okay, so we're gonna just be voting on this to accept this for information, and then we can deal with that separately, Councillor Hanley, okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
So that's the discussion on that, and we'll come back. 11-9. That was Parks, Rails to Trails. Who brought that up?
Me.
Go ahead, Councillor Sen.
Just a statement, we just had our meeting, Parks and Trails, and this came up. They made a presentation on the spur line. Great news, most of it's in Thorold, and great work, Mr. Richardson, on bringing it this quick. I didn't think it was coming this quick, so thanks, guys. This is a really good news story, so looking forward to this. Thank you.
Thank you. Rocking the Battlefield, I think that was Councillor Didavides. Go
Thank
ahead.
you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. I just had a comment also. I'm glad that the City of Thorold and Council were able to help out with some costs on this event. It was a huge success, raising over $17,000 for Niagara Peninsula Foundation of Children. We have a great park in Thorold, and the council is dedicated to helping people have events in that park, promote that park. It's good for Thorold, it's good for the BIA, and I encourage anybody out there who's interested in throwing an event or doing something, this council will work with you.
Thank you, Councillor Didavides. Anyone else? Okay, 11-11.
Mr. Mayor, if I could I just want to add a comment on there. It would be helpful if anyone wants to bring events to notify the city in advance. We do have our budget meeting coming up, so this way it helps us to budget some funds for these events. Because if they come last minute, we don't necessarily always have the funds for these to do different things. So anyone who's anticipating or thinking about doing an event, I'm looking to our CEO, when would you want some information brought forward, even if it's just idea at hand, so that it can be something that can be brought forward to the budget time, so council could start allocating some proper funds to promote events and get some seed money for events to get going.
So from our perspective, through you, Mr. Mayor, as soon as possible. When you have something in hand, just provide that information to us. We are in the process of putting together the budget for 2025. So earlier that we have it, we can always incorporate that in there.
Okay, seeing that, Mr. Mayor, maybe if we can put some sort of release through our social media that we're looking potentially at partnering with new events. Please let us know what you're thinking of doing, so that way council has a better idea at budget time when we're allocating funds, that we can make some proper decisions.
Okay,
Thank you.
we'll make sure that gets done. Go ahead, Councilor.
Should those go through the event coordinator, Jason Tedesco? Like, if they go online and
Yeah.
they go, okay, so they.
They'll put the contact that, because I know a lot of this stuff, we put out a notice anyways for all our community groups, and that's usually coming up about right now.
I agree with Henry, it's
Yeah.
key to get it in early.
So the timing's good. Okay. 11:11, the indoor track program update. Go ahead, Councilor.
Yeah, just in regards to that, Mr. Mayor, through you, I don't believe the city is getting their fair share here. When I read the report, I see where it says that from the consortium's end, they say the exact attendance and address of participants using the park was not collected, and the facility operator reported that the participant numbers were quite low based on expected use. But yet, in the same report, Mr. Mayor, the analysis from the city is that city staff would like to report that the utilization of Walker Brothers Sports and Ability Center of Canada, Games Park, has increased dramatically since the completion of the Canada Games. So we say it's increased dramatically. The Leisureplex over there says that we haven't. It hasn't been used. But yet they admit in their same report that no data has actually been collected to verify such. They're just stating that. And at the same time, we're looking at like a savings of $10,000. But what it actually amounts to is we're getting less use of the facility for the taxpayers, for which we're spending, $100 million in 38 years. And we're losing
Well, I can
use.
tell you this.
We're losing use of the facility, though. We're losing use.
Well, first of all, that track is available every day, different hours.
But
This was strictly, well, let me
I know.
finish. This was strictly nighttime.
That's right.
So now they're saying that they're gonna still have an hour at night, because the nighttime wasn't used like the day. I'm there 4 to 5 times a week, because I'm a member at the BFIT. And the track during the day is extremely busy.
I'm not disputing that, Mr. Mayor. It's
So-
not about how much the track's being used. The citizens of Thorold should have accessibility to that track for the amount of monies that we're paying as taxpayers, seeing that we're throwing away money all the time in regards to ice rentals, tens of thousands of dollars, hundred thousands of dollars. We now are losing access. So what happens next year when they come back and they say, again, that there's low attendance? Why aren't they keeping statistical data? Well, we were told at the beginning that's what was all going to occur, so they could justify how the rentals were going.
This is a time that we pay rent for, okay?
That- I
The
understand. I
other
realize
time,
that.
we don't pay.
I-
We pay rent for this because it's prime time and there's a lineup of people that want to use the facility.
I understand
One of
that.
them being a Thorold-based track club, okay? And so this, they felt was a good compromise. They're willing to step up and pay part of the cost, the consortium members. I can't see how this is a bad deal for the city of Thorold. It's no different than when you go to the arena. Public skating isn't 24 hours a day because we have other user groups that are using the facility.
My concern is the use, that the taxpayers should have the
Well-
opportunity to use it at a designated time that the city had required and asked for. We got it, and little by little, they're gonna peck away at it, and we'll be here without any hours one day. That's just my concern.
That's not true, Councillor Hanley, and you know that's not true. Go ahead, Councillor DeAngelo.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I just got a question through staff, because on the report, it talks about the hours that we're getting. Can we have an explanation of the hours that we lost in comparison?
Jeff, do you want to explain what we were paying for and what we will end up with? This is just strictly now talking about prime time, okay? This is not relating to the other hours which are there every day.
No, Mr. Mayor, in the report, it doesn't say what we paid for last year, the time-wise. but it says what we're paying for this year. So I just want a comparison of what we had before to what we have now. And when it comes to saying that, well, the consortium members are paying for the rest of it, well, we're one of those members, so it's like saying you're gonna pay for it anyways. So I just wanna know what we're losing, and if that's a substantial time slot, then that's something we need to discuss, because council was pretty adamant that we wanna make sure that we have prime time for the citizens of Thorold. And we were gracious enough to give that prime time to anybody. We weren't restricting it to Thorold citizens. So in my mind, right now, I just need to
Yeah,
know
it is in the
what
report.
we've lost in comparison to what's on the
Yeah,
report.
so through you, Mr. Mayor, Councillor, the attachment that you have is the report from last year. It has the timing, what was there last year, and the latest report has the timing for this year.
Okay, that's my fault, because I just printed off the new report. So I'll take a quick look. Thanks.
I think we can, Councillor, we can project that on the screen. Nicholas, can you do that?
Looking at the old report?
Yeah, put the report there, the appendix has the previous years, I think.
Mr. Mayor, I do see that in the report here. Like, I just find it a little odd that now we've gone down to 3 days, like Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. Can we not, you know, in the essence of compromising, you can always go, like, we had 2 hours and now we're only getting 1 hour. Can we not work something out where that we have access every single day, Monday to Friday? Because it said weekends, it's accessible for everyone on weekends, but the requested times last year were every single day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday.
And the allotted times were what we were given, okay?
Just Monday, Tuesday, and Thursdays. So that adds confusion to people, because if they end up there on a Wednesday, they won't have any time. So I don't know if that's something we can look at, is making sure that we have at least, like, again, trying to compromise, trying to make it work for everyone, at least an hour every day. If it's from 6 to 7.
These requested and allotted times were from last year, correct? So we never had Tuesday last year, okay? And on Monday, it was 7:30 to 9:30, and it was 6 to 8 on the other days, okay? We never had Tuesdays. So now they're gonna give us 6 to 7, 3 days a week. And then the cost is basically, that is waived because we're going to be sharing that 10,000, correct? Between the consortium partners, okay?
So just.
Where we paid the full freight last year.
Yeah, so.
Okay,
now-
so we're not really losing a lot here.
Okay, so I don't understand, if we're gonna pay for that, now the consortium is paying for it, so we're paying a third of it.
So-
Shouldn't the
That's
new
correct. We're
user,
paying a third.
shouldn't the new users pay for that if they're taking the time away?
I think Mr. Homan can clarify, but if we are not paying as a consortium, it is a user group who are taking the time, they are paying for it. So, Jeff, can you?
That's not what I'm hearing.
That's true, Mr. Mayor. The program wasn't tracked in terms of who's a Thorold resident and who's using it, but anecdotally, ASM Global has reported that the use of the track during these times was relatively light, less than what was originally expected, I think, when we booked the time and entered into a contract to reserve that space. That cost was $17,000 directly to the city of Thorold just to reserve that time. So part of ASM Global and the consortium's responsibility is to look at optimization of the facility. And there are user groups that are putting pressure on the management group to use the space and pay for it. So what's in the report in front of you is a compromise whereby we still are able to retain some public use, public access during prime time, but not at a cost directly to City of Thorold taxpayers. And it frees up some more time that will be paid for by other user groups. Now, I can tell you that they want even more than what we've given them, and they're prepared to pay for it. But the direction from council last year was to make sure that public access to this facility during prime time is maintained while we look to optimize use of the facility. And as the community understands and starts to look at how they want to use the facility, we'll have to make adjustments year in and year out. We're trying to balance the, financial sustainability and responsibility for the operating costs, with the utilization. And this is the compromise that we've come up to this year.
Okay. I think it's a good news story. I think this is a great compromise. I think it looks after our user group, but as well as prudently financially, and it allows us to expand the uses, which is one of the groups that's going to be utilizing it is a Thorold-based group called the Thorold Elite Track Club. So I think it's a win-win for the community. And I go to that place. I'm there more than anybody in this room. I'm there 4 to 5 times a week, minimum. And I see what's going on myself. And I know when it's busy and I know when it's not busy. And I know at night there's not enough hours for everything they want to do there. And during the day, that track in the winter gets tons of usage during the day. And that's mostly when it's being used. Go ahead, Councillor Sentence.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I agree. I think this is a fair deal, a good deal. Would I want more time, obviously, but when you call and try and talk to these people about, what we can do and negotiating, there are so many people that want a hold of this track and this facility that they're fending them off in order to get us what we can get. So I'm going to be voting for this. I think it's a fair compromise. Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone else? Councillor Didavide.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I also think it's a fair deal. It's a good move. And I just want to say Thorold Track Club using this facility, they're one of the best track clubs in Canada. This place is getting really used. There's a lot of track people that want to use this facility, and the taxpayers will save a little bit of money. And I think this is a great compromise to make everybody happy.
Anyone else? Councillor DeRose.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. And maybe this is the staff. How does it work when they make a decision? Is it the who we've hired, or do the consortium partners have a representative and meet and come up with decisions as to who gets what? I'm just curious if we're constantly outnumbered at the table.
No, we're represented, and I'll let Jeff speak to that.
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor. So annually, the ASM Global, our operator, would advertise the allocation or availability to book the ice time or book floor time, as it may be. As applications are received, they use the criteria that has been approved by the consortium with respect to how the allocation takes place and where the priority is. And I think you've seen the list. One of the things that we've always struggled with is that public programming is lower down on the list. And so when requests come up for public use or public rentals, the time is allocated based on, and I'm sorry, I think there's a list of about 7 different, the top ones being larger major events, national programming and national groups, and youth sports and things like that. Recreational programming is down the list, and then public programming is down near the bottom. We have been pushing through, as I said, on the committee, to try and get the public programming up the list. Unfortunately, our other partners have other programming already in place in their own facilities, and they haven't seen the need to. However, this year we were able to convince them that there is a need for some type of reservation during prime time to have access to this facility. And next year it'll be different, depending on who's interested, and that's, I think that's the process. But there are, some ways. I think one of the directions from council last year was to look at how do we make this public programming more prevalent, so we can have senior skate or public skate or access to the facility more accessible to the community. And we're going to continue to do that. At the same time, we're getting more interest from user groups who want to block off more time and pay for more time at this facility. So it's one of those unfortunate situations, but it's kind of growing pains that we're going to have to go through till we can get it right.
Thank you.
And just, thanks, Jeff, for that answer. Jeff, do you feel like, kind of like, we don't have a big enough say in decisions? Are you finding that at all, or you're good with how they're making these decisions? Like, do we have enough say in what's happening and what's going on, or do we get outvoted from the other consortium partners? Like, is there a vote that goes on at the end to make these final decisions, and we have one vote?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, there is a process. There is a vote. There's ample opportunity for discussion about it. We don't always win. We're, we share that facility, and our interests aren't particularly the same as Brock or St. Catharines. But for the most part, we're able to find some type of compromise that is respectful, and it's not perfect. It's not perfect. It's not the same as if we had our own facility. However, there's a lot more facility there than we might have ever had, and as the community, as I say, tries to figure out how they want to use it, it's going to be ever changing.
Sometimes my perception is we get the short end of the stick due to no fault of our own, but just how things are working out. But like you said, it's growing pains. Thank you.
Councillor Decker.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to make a comment that, yeah, it's a great story, and I think it's awesome that the Thorold Elite track team is getting more time there. I've been following them. They've been, the athletes that they send to competitions and stuff, if they didn't have a place to go to because they were going to Brantford and Toronto working out. So I think it's great. And I also want to say that I am at that facility quite often, and it's a great place for rehab, whether you use the track outside or inside. And I have heard nothing but positive feedback from quite a few residents and people that have been using the track, whether it's for rehab or just to get out and walk with their friends or with their family. I have my aunt's neighbor, she's 90 years old, that goes, her son brings her to the track every day, and they love it. So I just think that's a great place, and yeah, hopefully people will continue to use it. Thank you.
Councillor Longo, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Sorry I couldn't be there tonight. I hope you can hear me okay.
Yeah, we can hear you loud and clear.
Very good. Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I just want to make a few comments on this item because I was the one that brought this up last year and tried to get public hours after a number of people contacted me. And I was happy council supported me. I was happy we could get the hours. What I'm seeing here, though, unfortunately, is the consortium we have in place. As Councillor DeRose was trying to get answers to, I believe we're not, we don't have enough power. And what's happening here is the hours that council has agreed to are being slowly chipped away. So what's to stop next year from even being chipped away more? And that's my concern here. I agree with what everybody says. It's a great facility. I've been the one who said, we have this facility, we need to use it more. We have members of the public that want to use it, and now they're being gently nudged aside. I know there are user groups, they want to use it, but I believe the priority needs to be with the residents of Thorold who pay for this facility. We pay a lot of money every year. And again, I think we're being pushed aside, and I don't agree with this, what's happening here. I'm not sure if there's anything we can do, but I just wanted to make my point known. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councillor Longo. Go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I'm just looking at the allocation criteria, and I do want to commend our Director of Operations, Jeff Holman, because public programming is number 7th on the list. Like, it's blackout dates for major events, Brock University, dedicated time, tournaments, high performance groups, youth groups, and then community use, and then public programming. That's where we're stuck here. Public programming is at the bottom. This is a public facility in our mind, but for the other two users, it's not specifically the same concept for them, because one probably has their own track elsewhere, St. Catharines, and they have other facilities. So that's the dilemma here. We're getting pushed out because number 7's at the bottom, but I appreciate staff fighting to get number 7 moved up the list. So that's all we can really do at this point in time. And then if we could generate more revenue, that's something I've been always asking to do. So, you know, in that concept, we are doing that. But it's unfortunate that we're at the bottom of the list when it comes to the public programming.
I think that that's a good point, but I think the staff's definitely working, like you said, and hopefully we can get that moved up. I know that there's other ways that it works in our favor, like tournaments being a higher thing, because when our teams have tournaments, whether it's adult league or minor league, then they bump people sometimes for those weekends.
We should have tournaments for walking.
Yeah, there you go. Anyway, okay, so we've, Councillor Hanley, we're gonna come back to that item separate, okay, outside of these, on Uppers Lane, okay? Okay, so we've had discussion now on,
Through you, Mr. Mayor, so for item 11.7, my recommendation would be that Councillor Hanley can bring that as a notice of motion. You can vote on items 11.1, 11.2, and 11.4 to 11.11. And then also Councillor D'Angela requested an amendment on 11.3. I think that should be voted on separately. And I have the amendments ready to go.
okay, so, let's do the amendment.
Mr. Mayor, point of order?
Yes, go ahead, Counselor.
I'd like to vote on 1111 separately also.
We will do that as well, okay?
Thank you.
Okay, so we're gonna do 11.3, the amendment. Have you got that up? This is the amendment that you...
I would suggest doing that at the end.
Okay, so
After
we're
the
doing
block.
11.1, 11.2, 11.4, 11.5, what else? 11.6, 11.7, 11.8, 11.9, and 11.10.
Correct.
And then we'll do 11.3, 11.3 and 11.11 separate vote.
Correct.
Correct? Okay, so everything other than 11.3 and 11.11, I get a mover and a seconder. We had a mover and a seconder. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Okay, 11.3.
Second, I'll put that on the screen. Whoop.
So that staff report back to council on options, reviewing font sizes on other signage. Are you good with that, Councillor D'Angelo? Not just the street,
Responsible by the municipality, not commenting on every signage.
yeah, font sizes on other signage, that is the responsibility of the city of.
Yeah, municipal responsibility.
Yeah, municipal responsibility.
Yeah, we don't want to do all the signs.
No, no. Okay, are we good with that? So we're gonna vote on the amendment first?
The amendment first, yeah.
Okay, we'll use the same, you wanna get a different mover and a seconder for that?
Yes.
Okay, so Councillor D'Angelo, you're gonna move this? And Councillor DeRose is gonna second it. We're gonna do this separate because we changed it, okay? So it's an amendment. We're voting on the amendment first, that staff report back to council on options reviewing font sizes on other signage across the city, which is the which are within the municipality's responsibility. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Now we're gonna vote on the item as a whole, including the amended report. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. And Councillor Longo asked to vote on 1111 separately. We'll use the same mover and seconder for that. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Items for consideration. DS 47-2024 residential rental licensing financial data. Oh, wait, first, I just want to say, Councillor Hanley, that's going to come under notice of motion, okay? Okay, just so you're clear on that. Can I get a mover and a seconder for the report? I got Councillor Decker and Councillor Sentence. The report's on the screen, and its floor is open for questions from council. Go ahead, Councillor Hanley.
I'd like to defer items, recommendations number 4 and recommendation number 6. I don't believe recommendation 6 should actually be there because previous council meeting, we had already deferred this item to budget. So why it's coming again to council at this time, I'm not sure. But I want to defer those 2 items.
Go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I can't recall off the top of my head if that was the case. If you're looking to defer 4 and 6, the debate is strictly limited to when, essentially, that would be done. And
2025 budget deliberations.
Okay. So the motion from Councillor Handley and require a second, would that be
Councillor Thorold.
items 4 and 6 be deferred to be considered with the 2025 budget deliberations?
Discussion on that. Go ahead, Councillor Sentence.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think last time we did this, we said we wanted more numbers. I think Councillor D'Angelo asked for more numbers. We had the numbers. We talked about being net zero, and we talked about I talked about needing these to do this job. So I won't support the motion. I'm ready to move forward with this and do what we need to do. Thank you.
If I can, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Councillor.
I believe we, earlier this year, passed 22 or 24 new positions. And in those discussions, it would be that we were at the staffing levels we needed to be by hiring those individuals. I believe it was 22, 24. And I will go back to the council meeting that we were asked that it be deferred to fire prevention officer when it had previously come up at a meeting previously. And I believe it may have been Councillor D'Angelo that brought it forward. And we had asked that it be deferred at that time to the 2025 budget deliberations.
I can't remember exactly. I thought it was just deferred to get more financials. That's what I thought.
Yeah,
Am I? Well,
if I could speak, because I'm the one.
yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted more financial numbers so
That's
that we could see what the program was actually doing, and that there's a, that's what I was asking for.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
My apologies.
Go ahead, Councillor DeRose.
No, I was just going to reiterate, I thought it was to get that information, but still to deliberate about it at budget time, because we're already, this is all over budget.
No, a lot of it's paid for by the program if you read the report, but I'll, do you want to speak on that, Jason?
Certainly, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So for clarification, the additional staffing that is being requested, the 2 new positions, will be fully funded by residential rental licensing applications. They will not be funded by the levy. I will identify number 9 on the list. As a result of this, there will be a budget, a levy impact of $52,000 next year as a result from reallocating the service delivery. Right now, half of a FPO, existing FPO, is funded by residential rental licensing. That's not adequate to keep the program running, and so we need a full-time FPO to do it. So there will be a slight budget impact to the levy, but everything else is being funded by residential rental licensing.
So
I can identify that the intentions of this pre-budget approval, I respect the fact or the request to defer it. The reason it's come forward now, the only reason is because we need these positions to move the program forward or continue the program. Right now, the program is at a standstill because we are unable to maintain the service anymore. So this pre-budget approval is simply intended to allow us to hire those positions in the new year. There won't be a budget increase for this year.
And
Follow-
am I correct that you tagged number 9? Number 9 is actually the only position that will affect the levy?
That is correct.
52,000, am I correct? I don't want to put words in your mouth. I just want to make sure that that's clear to council.
Yes, that is correct, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
Can I have a follow-up?
Councillor O'Hara, and then I'll go to you, Councillor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, I fully support this. We often hear and complain about the fact that bylaw is understaffed and needs to do more. And here we're seeing clearly that this is a program that is working. It's creating revenue. It's going to cover the cost. We asked for numbers.
Hey, well, one sec. The clerk has informed me that
So what's currently on the floor is the deferral, so that will have to be dealt with
4 and
prior
4
to
and 6.
discussing the
Okay.
report
Okay.
in general.
All right.
You had a seconder. Does anyone else want to talk about that? Because we can vote on that, and then we can move on depending on how council votes. Okay? Go ahead, Councillor.
I just had a question for Jason.
Go ahead. If it's relating to the deferral.
Yes. Jason, if we do follow through with hiring the extra firefighter, fire prevention officer, what happens once we get caught up? Because eventually we will get caught up. Might be a couple of years away, I don't know, but then that's my concern. When you hire another permanent
Tell him you'll have.
position like that, it's there for life. That's my only concern.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the request for this position is not to address the backlog. We need the position just to maintain the service. There are so many other functions that the fire prevention officers need to maintain or provide to the community, and it's that or residential rental licensing. They can't be split and do it all. There's residential rental licensing without the backlog is a full-time position on its own for an FPO.
Just a follow-up from Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, thank you.
In regards to the position, it's in regards to the position, is the fire prevention officer going to be an employee of the city of Thorold and a member of the Union of the International Association of Firefighters? I only ask that because municipalities do have fire prevention officers that are not actually official members of the International Association of Firefighters and act in the capacity as a fire prevention officer, building inspector. So what are we looking at here? It's a follow-up to Councillor DeRosa's because, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to make a couple of comments here. One to Councillor DeRose, first of all, and that's to give you a little bit more background about this position. When we negotiated extra fire prevention officer back in 2023, where the $52,000 comes from, we were fortunate enough to be able to use some of this residential licensing fees and penalties towards that cost. Now that the duration of this program has been involved and the amount of houses we're finding with residential licensing, it's costing us far too many hours from the fire prevention officer doing his duties in the fire prevention division. The reasoning for the extra position that we need a full-time fire prevention officer strictly to look after the residential licensing process. What we are finding is that in a lot of places, it gets very complicated when it comes to the amount of people that are in these houses. And to uphold the fire code and the building code, there's multiple visits that have to happen and multiple occasions when get contacting these people to get the things right. So this is where the time is coming. And I'm just telling you, we've only scratched the surface of this. This is going to be a full-time position of residential licensing year after year after year.
My question, though, that Councillor Hanley's asking is that...
I'm getting to that. I'm getting to that, Mayor. So, now through you, Mayor, to Councillor Hanley's question, yes, if this fire prevention officer was hired, they'd be a member of the local 1182.
Thank you.
Okay, is there any further questions regarding this report?
No, it's happening regardless. Yeah, it's happening. I will support it.
Excuse me, regarding the deferral. Is there any further on that?
Yeah, I'm just looking for clarity because the report I printed off the website is not numerically the same as what's up there.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, there was an addendum published yesterday.
All right, that can explain it. So I just want to make sure I know the number. So we're going from what's on the screen. So if you just let me know exactly what's on the screen, it's different than what I printed off the city's website.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I believe Councillor Hanley, are you going by 4 and 6 on the screen right there?
If I may, before we go further, I'll pull the request to defer items 4 and 6.
Okay, so he's pulling the request, so you don't have to, now we can just, any questions are related to the full report.
Okay.
Okay? Thank you. Any further questions on the full report? Go ahead, Councillor Davies, and then Councillor.
No, I just had a comment. I support this. Just like any other business, when you grow, you got to hire staff. That's a good thing. And you got to run it properly, and you need staff to do your job. And it's not going to affect the budget this year, so I fully support this.
Yeah, I'm just looking at, this program's generated a lot of revenue, and I know we're gonna, if we move forward, we'll have some additional expenses here. I know it might be hard for this year, but I'd like to definitely see if there's a way or a mechanism either to reduce the fees, because I talked about graduated licensing or a rebate program for those that are doing things efficiently. It's all contingent, and I read through the report where it talked about the timing of the penalty revenue is when you receive it, not necessarily when it's been issued, because you never know if you're going to get it. And then I think also the licensing fee is spread over time, so it's allocated according to GAAP principles, which is proper. So this year, I'm interested in moving forward so that we get the additional bodies and staff to put this fully implemented in. But if we're showing signs of like we made $350,000, so, and it's for a specific program. This is not to subsidize the rest of the bylaw department. So if the only people paying these costs are those that are involved in the rental housing licensing program, if it's excessive, they need to be reimbursed in a manner that is fair and equitable, and especially for those that are causing headaches throughout our community with garbage, parking, all the other stuff that are what I call not very community-friendly minded neighbors. Those ones should be penalized and punished, and if that's not getting a rebate, then that's the way we're going to do it, potentially. So I want to make sure that is looked at next year come budget time, because the numbers will be more solid by the end of the year. So on that premise, I will support this moving forward, but I do want to see some sort of mechanism of rewarding good landlords.
My mic was off. Councillor Longo, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to pick up on what Councillor DeAngelis said there. I do agree with him. I have no problem supporting these new positions to make this program become more efficient, but I do have a problem because when this program was originally instituted, it was supposed to be revenue neutral. And I agree, the first 2 or 3 years, we were in a bit of a learning curve, and it did actually cost the city money, but we've recouped that money. I do not believe that we should be using the revenue from this program to fund anything other than this program, and anything that is above and beyond, like Councillor D'Angelo said, should go back to any owner of a residential licensed property who's in good standing and has no penalties issued against it. So I think I agree. We need to figure out a way to do that once we get the new bodies on board. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Longo. Anyone else? Go ahead, Councillor O'Hare. Sorry about that. I knew you had your hand up and I forgot about it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, just to reiterate, I support this program completely, or request, and as we've heard, we asked for numbers. They are numbers that help support this program, and we always know that bylaw can use help. So in order for bylaw to run a successful program, they need the tools and they need the people. So I'm fully behind this, and let's get it up and running.
Okay, anyone else? Seeing none. I got a mover and a seconder, correct, at the beginning? Decker and Sutton. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. PWCS 68-2024 Energy Conservation and Demand Management Plan. Can I get a mover and a seconder for that, please? Councillor Decker and Councillor Hanley. The report will be on the screen, and now it's open for questions to Public Works staff. Is there any questions? Seeing none. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. PWCS 105 2024 Tender Award 2024 Traffic Calming for Multiple Locations. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Councillor D'Angelo and Councillor Sentence. And we'll get the report up, and we'll open the floor for any questions or comments from council. Go ahead, Councillor D'Angelo.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor. My question is just, I support the report, just looking for timing of when it will be done.
Sean, go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, as it says in the report, we'll start towards the end of the month and have it done before Christmas.
Okay, that's fine, just so the public's aware that it's moving forward.
Okay, thank you. Okay, no further questions. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. PWCS 108 2024 James White Arena Interim Operational Plan. Can I get a mover and a seconder for that report? Councillor O'Hare and Councillor Ditavitas. The report is on the roof, and you see what the report recommends. Is there any comments on this? Go ahead, Councillor Decker.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to make a comment, and this is just my own personal comment, that I'm just very disappointed that these user groups that were quite excited to be able to have a place to go and do sports, find a safe place in our community to run these programs, and that we've sort of taken that excitement away from them. I understand what the report says, but I'm just voicing my opinion. I'm very disappointed. I know that we have, our summer games facility, but we don't have other indoor spaces like St. Catharines Might or Niagara Falls or Welland or other areas that have all these other places and indoor spaces for these user groups to go and run these programs. So it makes me really, really sad that our kids and our youth don't have a place to go to learn, engage, and have a safe place just to congregate in our community. So it just makes me really, really sad. And I'm really disappointed.
I can understand your disappointment, but we have to go by the report of what the arena report said. Go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, is there any opportunity to work with the Canada Summer Games Park to get some time there for them to utilize that facility? You know, the White Arena is a dead a building. It's a lot of money that's got to be put into that. And then there's the operational costs that would have been associated with that. Is there any way of working with these community groups? Because I know the Thorold Community Group was very excited when the Canada Summer Games building was being built. They came here, they spoke. Is there any way that we can help facilitate getting some time for them at that facility?
Well, I think you have to look at what was going to be utilized there. And that was soccer, ball hockey. Those are not sports that are going to be utilized indoors at Canada Games Park. They could be utilized outside, maybe in the turf, in the field, but you have to look at what was going to be used. I know Canada Games Park's already put out advertising that they're running pickleball programs during the day. Today I was there, they were running lawn bowling inside. So there's all kind of programming that is being offered, and there's opportunities there, but what was going to be run at James White is a lot of different programming that really doesn't fit the mold for that.
Well, I too am, like Councillor Decker, disappointed that our youth don't have an opportunity. That's why I'm saying that's the only building that we have that can substantiate some of this stuff. Working with the consortium partners, maybe there's an opportunity.
Jeff, can you look at any opportunities that may be available to accommodate some?
We will continue to work with the user groups to see if there isn't a place where some or most of this programming can't be reallocated, but it comes at a price too, and so the user groups are going to have to want to pay the rental fee to run the programming, whereas what we were envisioning at James White Arena was the operating cost would be very minimal. So that's really the difference, and the times that they want to use the facilities may not line up with the availability too. But we can continue to work to see if there isn't a way to transfer some of that programming.
Go ahead, Councillor Sentence.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, I just wanted to apologize to our user groups that you know, we had hoped that this report would come back and we could use the space. I hope they understand that spending money on this building isn't really fiscally smart right now, but I did have a chance to talk with Jeff today, and just what he said today, that we'll try and do something, or as much as we can, to find them a place. It just would have been perfect there. I just didn't think we were going to get that type of a report back too, so just apologies, and we'll work with you. Thank you.
I know some of the programming, like for the Air Cadet Squadron, that was a temporary move there. When do we expect the Allenburg Community Center to be available? Do we have a time on that?
Yeah, through Mr. Mayor, we're working to try and accommodate their needs at the Allenburg Community Center. The project is just at the stage where we're finalizing the concept and trying to allocate the budgets. We'll have a report probably early in the new year and start construction in the spring, with the idea that the daycare facility at Allenburg could be opened up in September. It's a pretty tight timeline given where we are and where we have to go. But that space would also include a space for the Air Cadets.
Thank you. Go ahead, Councillor Dedevina.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. It's upsetting me about this, but we have to think of safe always. Cost efficient for the taxpayers. It would cost millions and millions of dollars, so it did not make sense. But we can reach out, these groups can reach out to schools in our community, ask to use their gymnasiums for hip hop, that works, floor hockey, that works, racket sports, that works. Maybe they can be more creative and reach out to schools that are in our community and ask to use their spaces.
Thank you. Anyone else? Go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, I just want to say, also reiterate, it's a sad day, but I do want to say this should also be a wake-up call to us. It's important that we recognize our municipal buildings that require attention, that need investment. We're slowly losing several of them simply because they're being left to fall apart. Look at Chestnut Hall, the fire hall on Towpath. Darlene Ryan needs attention. These buildings, we can't forget about them. We have to somehow slot it in, and maybe now that we're coming up to budget, this is a good time to look at some of these buildings and address a few of them so that we don't one day also hear, oh, guess what? We have to move everything out of Chestnut Hall because it's now condemned and going to fall over. So this is very important. We should be taking steps to at least recognize which of our buildings need investment, need work, and deal with it, not forget about it. So, thank you.
Any further questions? Okay. Go ahead, Ken.
Well, I just want to echo the same comment. I think we need to make sure that we sort of inventory our buildings and see which ones have useful life. Hopefully we don't have what happened in Hamilton when there's a building that fell down because it was a derelict building. I know Councillor Hanley's been very strong at fixing up Chestnut Hall. He put money towards it in the budget several times. We tried to, in the past, clean up some of, we had at one point in time, we owned 4 or 5 city halls, and we have reduced that down to a smaller number. One of them was the Allenburg City Hall that got torn down. We put playground equipment. So it does happen. We do this, but unfortunately we built the Canada Summer Games Park. That takes a lot of our money and puts it into one recreational building that's depriving some of those capital funds going into other areas. So yes, we are looking at that, but it's impossible to deal with all of them unless you want to give someone a really bad tax increase next year, because we're trying to utilize these buildings. We have to look at partnerships. We have to look at costs. Look at the buildings that we've been improved upon so far. We're putting in an extended mausoleum. We fixed up the cemetery administrative building so that our residents could go there and have a place so they can actually go to the washroom without using a Johnny on the spot. So we are making these improvements. So I don't want to sound like it's dire here. Things are happening, but sometimes it takes slow and painful process. It was mentioned the downtown fire hall. Well, that's being reutilized and repurposed into a museum and cultural center. That's pretty exciting. So that building's on its way of being readapted. So I think there's a lot of great stuff happening here in Thorold. So let's not always look at the dire side of it. We're going to be opening up a new Public Works Administrative Yard. We're having the grand opening. We just opened up a new fire hall, something that replaced the other fire hall that's being repurposed. So a lot of great things are happening here.
I'd like to
be proud of that. Thank you.
The thing is, we've done a lot, and and been fiscally prudent. And the thing is, as we move forward, we put money in parks. We lead the Niagara area in trails. Our Parks, Trail, and Recreation, there's a lot of things that we're doing in this community that are positive, that we need to keep chipping away. And we chip away, sure, we wish we could do everything in one swath, but it's not like that. But I think once we make this decision and move forward, then there's another decision to be made, and that's what we're going to do with that with that property. Anyways, we got a mover and a seconder. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Okay, we're on to notices of motion. We got 3 motions tonight, but are there any notice of motion for the next meeting? Go ahead, Councillor Hanley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We actually have a few here. First off, I want to put a notice of motion forward in regards to the City of Thorold flag policy.
What policy?
City of Thorold flag policy.
Flag policy, right. Okay.
I want to put a notice of motion in regards to a crosswalk recognition of our veterans.
Okay.
I want to put in a notice of motion in regards to yearly parking exemptions.
Yes.
On
Wait,
specific.
First, the second one was the crosswalk for veterans?
First one was the City of Thorold flag policy. Second one is the crosswalk recognition of our veterans.
Yeah.
Third one is yearly parking exemptions.
Yeah.
And the fourth one is notice of motion in regards to upper lane extension.
Yeah.
And I'll work with
You'll work with the clerk on those, okay?
I'm retired,
And
I got time.
And I think you've reached your limit for one meeting. Go ahead, Councillor Sin.
He's got too much time on his hands. No, mine was the veteran one too. I had just called Nicholas to put it in, so it's the walkway.
Why
It's
don't
good.
you work together?
Yeah.
And, okay.
Great idea.
Okay. Anyone else? Go ahead, Councillor Ryan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Notice a motion regarding parking signage.
Parking signage, okay? Okay. Now, we're gonna move on to motions. And we'll start with the first motion. I'll call on Councillor Decker for her motion respecting physician recruitment program. And do you have a seconder? Councillor Dedovides. Go ahead, Councillor Decker.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. Whereas the state of healthcare in Ontario is in crisis, with 2.3 million Ontarians lacking access to a family doctor, emergency room closures across the province, patients being derostered, and 40% of family doctors considering retirement over the next 5 years. Whereas the percentage of family physicians practicing comprehensive family medicine has declined from 77 in 2008 to 65% in 2022. Whereas the city of Thorold is underserved by approximately 7 family physicians. And whereas Ontario municipal governments play an integral role in the healthcare system through responsibilities in public health, long-term care, paramedicine, and other investments. Oops, I just lost my page, sorry. Now therefore be it resolved that the corporation of the city of Thorold enacts as follows. That council for the city of Thorold directs staff to prepare a report respecting a physician recruitment program targeting the recruitment of 4 family physicians to practice in the city of Thorold, and that the proposed physician recruitment program and report be considered during the 2025 budget process.
Okay, is there any discussion regarding that? Go ahead, Councillor Sin.
This is great news. This is a long time coming, so I'm glad we're actually taking a step forward on this. So good work, and I hope this works out. We need them badly. Thank you.
Anyone else? Go ahead, Councillor Dedovides.
Through you, sir. This is for staff. Can I ask it now? If they can come up.
Then, go ahead.
I'd like to see if staff can come up with an initiative program like other municipalities do that. You give $100,000, you disperse, you cut it up over a 5-year period. It was in Maclean's magazine. It worked very well for Belleville, Hastings Center, and other municipalities. Something to bring a young doctor into Thorold, because it's going to be tough to come into a small community. A lot of them don't like it. We gotta try to sell them on the positives, and maybe we can come up with some kind of incentive program for them.
Yeah. Go ahead, Manoj.
Thank you, Thank you, Councillor. Through you, Mr. Mayor. As Mayor has mentioned in his mayor's remarks, we met with the physician recruitment specialist on October 24th. And there is actually a roundtable for physician recruitment where all the mayors and CEOs are invited. So it's a collective effort rather than one municipality paying 100,000, somebody is paying 5,000. So we just want to have a standardized approach so that we are not competing among ourselves. Mm-hmm. And also we want to make sure that we are not poaching from one or the other within the Niagara region. We are bringing these physicians from outside to satisfy the need. So this roundtable will be on Thursday, November 26th. For half a day, where everybody will sit down, and hopefully at the end of it, we have a program that is, everybody agrees to it, and then we can get more physicians to Thorold and also to Niagara.
But also, it may give us more information to put in the report.
That's right.
Because Welland's given out X amount of dollars, but not every municipality is doing that, although other municipalities are looking at increasing it. So this is going to be a good discussion to get everybody on the same page.
Yes. Yeah, because it's working for Huntsville and Hastings Centers and Belleville. They're close to each other and they offer cash, and it actually worked for them. So having another municipality offer cash too, it doesn't really matter. You just try to attract them to Thorold and sell them on Thorold.
One thing we have is an advantage, and it's worked because of our with the specialists. Because, you know, we have 4 eye surgeons, we have 4 heart doctors, we got different internists, we got the urology clinic, is they love the location because their patients come from across Niagara. Go ahead, Councilor Diaz.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I definitely look back at our history. We've done this numerous times.
Exactly.
We've attracted doctors. We tried to avoid the competing against. That's what was happening. We were competing against St. Catharines and Niagara Falls and Welland. So it was sort of pointless. The other thing that we found helpful when I was on council when we did this is that we also drew up a list of citizens that were actually looking for a doctor, so that you have the demand there. Yes, we're under service, but how much is the demand there that you really need to satisfy? And the other one is to work with the economic development officer, because if you don't have a location for that doctor to set up their practice, a lot of them like to go in with another doctor because it reduces costs. I think part of that report should address what availability of doctor space we have so that they could fit in, because if they have no clinic to come to or they have no space to come to, they're not going to come here. So that's very critical. So that's part of the report that I'd like to see to make sure those questions are answered.
Yeah, and we're already working with a couple of locations that are looking at accepting, that are existing locations within the city. Go ahead, Councilor Thorold.
Yeah, through Mr. Mayor.
And then I'll get Councilor Longo after that.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. I really liked what Manoj said. Once again, it's Councilor D'Angelo referred to that earlier about collaborating. And so collaborate the region, collaborate the other communities, because I know a lot of people in Thorold that have doctors outside of town. Like some are going to be in Welland and some are, you know, it just works out like that. But as long as we're collaborating instead of competing against each other, I think that's the way to go. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Councilor Longo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I just wanted to jump on that too. I believe collaboration throughout the Niagara region is very important. You know, I'd love to have my doctor be in Thorold, but at least if I had a doctor in the region that I could travel to, I'm fortunate enough I can do that. We just need more doctors. And one thing I'll add, I'm not sure if the report can touch on this, is I've read a little bit, and this has been my feeling on doctor recruitment over the years. There's no point taking doctors from other communities because then they just are left in a bind. But I believe we need to, and the provincial government is stepping up, I think, to try to do this. We need to provide grants to our bright minds out there, our young students still in high school who want to move into medicine. We need to figure out a way to give them the money and have them practice and learn medicine and then come to our community when they graduate. I know it's a long-term goal to get there, but if we would have looked at this 20 years ago when this was a problem, we'd have a number of doctors who were born and raised in Thorold. And I think that needs to be hopefully part of this report that comes back to council.
Thank you, Councilor Longo. Okay. Anyone else? Seeing none. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. And once we go to the round table, we'll make sure we report back to council on the findings of that. Okay? 14.2, City Council statement by Councilor DeRose respecting flag desecration. Do you have a seconder, Councilor? Councilor DeRose, do you have a seconder? Councilor De Davidas. Okay, go ahead, Councilor DeRose.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. Whereas the Canadian flag is a symbol of the nation's unity, history, and values, representing the sacrifices and contributions made by Canadians across generations. Whereas the Canadian flag stands as a symbol of national pride, democracy, freedom, and the rights and responsibilities of Canadian citizens. Whereas the desecration of the Canadian flag is an act that disrespects the ideals and principles upon which Canada was built, undermining national cohesion and respect for the country's institutions. Whereas acts of flag desecration can cause significant emotional harm to Canadians, particularly veterans and others for whom the flag represents personal or collective sacrifice, dignity, and identity. And whereas criminalizing the desecration of the Canadian flag would serve as a means of protecting national symbols from acts that seek to degrade their meaning while still respecting the constitutional rights of citizens to protest peacefully and express diverse views. Now, therefore, it be resolved that the Corporation of the City of Thorold enacts as follows. The Council for the City of Thorold supports the amendment to the Criminal Code, RSC 1985 C-46, for the purpose of criminalizing the act of desecrating the Canadian flag, and 2, that the resolution be circulated to the Office of the Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau, and the Office of Member of Parliament for Niagara Centre, Vance Badaway.
Thank you, Councillor DeRose. Is there any discussion on that? Go ahead, Councillor Sentence.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, I was surprised when I looked it up. We didn't already have this, actually. I didn't know, but I also appreciate the part in there about peaceful protest. So that's an important part of it. So I'll support this. I already thought we had it. Thank you.
Anyone else? Go ahead, Councillor DeAngelo.
Can we also circulate it to the region and other local municipalities?
Absolutely. Yeah, if, as long as our mover and seconder are good with that.
100%, yes.
Okay. Okay.
Want to make the change?
He's gone. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw this recently happen in British Columbia, broke my heart. I never thought I'd see this while I was alive. So I'm very disappointed. And there needs to be severe consequences for anybody doing that. Thank you.
Okay. And he's going to add that it get distributed to local area municipalities in the region, okay? Go ahead, Councillor Denby.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. I'm glad Councillor DeRose brought this up. Being the most patriotic city in Canada, Thorold with all our flags, I'm glad you brought this forward.
Thank you. Okay. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Feeding of wildlife, I'll call on Councillor O'Hare for his motion respecting feeding of wildlife. Do you have a seconder, Councillor O'Hare? Councillor Sentence is seconding that. Go ahead, Councillor O'Hare.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, whereas as human development continues to encroach upon natural wildlife habitats, the likelihood increases that animals will venture into residential areas in search of food and shelter, whereas the act of feeding wildlife in residential areas encourages animals to become more habituated to human presence, potentially leading to increased risks of aggression and dangerous interactions with people. Whereas the feeding of wildlife can contribute to the growth of rodent populations, creating further health and safety concerns within communities. And whereas providing food to wildlife often results in improper diets, leading to malnutrition, illness, and the spread of diseases among animals that may subsequently affect local ecosystems. And whereas wildlife that frequent residential areas in search of food can cause significant damage to homes, gardens, and property, creating costly repairs and safety hazards for residents. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Corporation of the City of Thorold enacts as follows. Number one, that staff be directed to report back to Council respecting options to prohibit the feeding of wildlife within the City of Thorold through the passage of a bylaw or amendment to a pre-existing bylaw.
Thank you. Is there anyone that wants to speak to this? Go ahead, Councillor Didavita.
I support this 100%. We had a problem. One of my friends phoned Oregon. They came down there. First thing they said, stop feeding the birds, stop feeding the squirrels. The neighbor was doing it, nothing but rats, rodents, problems like crazy. And unfortunately, we all love the animals, but this is you have to think for your neighbor and your neighborhood and your city, and this will be a great impact to stop the rodent problem.
Thank you. Anyone else want to speak to this? Go ahead, Councillor Jerome.
Yeah, I agree with the concept. I have had many discussions with even relatives of mine, and most of them are seniors, and and I told them how bad it is to draw in rodents, and they continue to do it. So I don't know how that's going to sit with a lot of seniors in town, but it's the right thing to do. But
it's education.
I just don't know how you're going to find these people. But so bylaw will come back with a recommendation as far as
this would
fine.
be to report back. Yes,
So,
that's correct.
Okay, can I ask a question of bylaw real quick?
Yes.
To Jason, through you, Mr. Mayor. Jason, so would that entail with bylaw people going on people's properties and checking, or would it have to be complaint-based?
So, through you, Mr. Mayor.
I'm only asking because I've tried to dissuade these people to not do it, and they just look at me like I'm an alien.
Through you, Mr. Mayor,
People, Mr. Mayor.
the staff will need to discuss this. We currently have an animal control bylaw in effect. The easiest way of resolving this or addressing this may be to amend the animal control bylaw to include this. If that is the path that we choose to take or recommend to council, our animal control bylaw is currently enforced by
I think it's
Right.
Lincoln Humane Society.
Lincoln Humane Society. Their names have changed, so I get them mixed up.
Is it?
But
It's called Niagara now. I've just been.
Niagara Humane Society, thank you. So yes, should council choose to pass an amendment to that bylaw or an amendment to a new bylaw, or pass a new bylaw, I should say, then yes, that would give authority to whomever is responsible for enforcing that bylaw to enter onto people's properties for enforcement.
And Jason, are you aware of other communities doing this?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, I am.
Go ahead,
Thank you.
Councillor Hanley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to follow up in regards to, maybe we could also go back and reflect upon the report that we got from Coyote Canada
Yes,
when they were here in town and that stuff,
told us that, yes.
right? And
yes.
as Councillor Didovita said, that's one of the issues, so maybe we could do something in coordination with them.
And the only thing I can add is that it should be, I'm not saying it has to be only, but it should be focused on within the urban boundary. That's where our problems lie. And I've had complaints, and I'm sure that's why you brought this up, because you've seen the same complaints. And anyways, okay, so we had a mover and a seconder. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Okay, we've got two statements by councillors. I'll call on Councillor Hanley first.
I believe that's in regards to the upcoming event
Yes.
on this Saturday, November 16th.
I just want to say, you're one of the few that get to speak on the same item 2 meetings in.
Okay, I appreciate it. It's for a great cause. So this Saturday at Club Capri, at the Canadian Corps, we're having a fundraiser. It's in lieu of my and my wife's retirement, but in lieu with taking care of families at Christmas for community care. Actually, we kind of estimated out, and we got some receipts the other day. This will be the 25th year, actually, that it started with myself and Councillor Murphy back in 1999, and I've kind of continued it forward since then. Sold 70 tickets already. We've already raised enough money to support 9 children and 6 adults.
Awesome. Thank you, Councillor Hanley. And I got Councillor Decker for her statement regarding Foodland's license to sell wine and beer. Go ahead, Councillor.
Yes, finally, thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. This is just a congratulations to Todd Marr from Foodland for finally getting his license to sell wine and beer in the store. I know it's been a rough 5 years for him. I know myself and Jeff Birch, along with the LCBO, have been trying so desperately to get him a license in that grocery store. And finally, it's come to fruition for him. And I think it's great for everything that he does, that he finally is able to now compete with other retail outlets. And it's good for Thorold, too. And it couldn't happen to a nicer guy. So congratulations goes out to Todd at Foodland.
Thank you, Councillor Decker, sorry now. Okay, there's no closed session or business arising from closed session. Bylaws, can I get a mover and a seconder for bills 86, 2024 through 89, 2024? I got Councillor DeRose and Councillor Sentence. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. There being no further business, this meeting is hereby adjourned at 8:20 p.m. It's an early one.
Oh, we got him
Must be our
retired
new-
now, and you
our-
guys all want to go home
That
early.
must be, we didn't, our new employees,
I'm
we
gonna
didn't
start
want them
talking
to
more.
have a long meeting.